in terms of non-history books, the book that probably had the most impact on me, which is also it's historical nonfiction, is I am obsessed with Antarctic exploration. And it all began with a book called Shackleton's Incredible Journey, which is the collection of diaries of everybody who was on Shackleton's journey. For those who don't know, Shackleton was the last explorer of the heroic age of Antarctic exploration. He led a ship called the Endurance, which froze in the ice off the coast of Antarctica in 1914. And they didn't have radios. They were the last exploration, a last one without the age of radio. And he happens to freeze in the ice. And then the ship collapses after a year frozen in the ice. And this man leads his entire crew from that ship onto the ice with a team of dogs, survives out on the ice for another year with 3 little lifeboats, and is able to get all of his men, every single one of them alive, to an island hundreds of miles away called Elephant Island. And when they got there, he had to leave everybody behind except for 6 people. And him and 2 other guys, I'm forgetting their names, navigated by the stars 800 miles through the Drake Passage with seas of hundreds of feet to I think it's called Prince George's Island.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they got to Prince George's Island, they landed on the wrong side and they had to hike from one side to the other to go and meet the whalers. And every single one of those things was supposed to be impossible. Nobody was ever supposed to hike that island. It wasn't done again until like the 1980s with professional equipment.
Mm-hmm.
He did it after 2 years of starvation. Nobody was ever supposed to make it from Elephant Island to Prince George. The guy, they had to hold him steady, his legs, so that he could chart the stars. And if they miss this island, they're into open sea. They're dead. And then before that, how do you survive for a year on the ice?
Yeah.
On seals. And before that, he kept his crew from depression, frozen 1 year in the ice. It's just an amazing story. And it made me obsessed with Antarctic exploration. So I've read like 15 books on.
What the hell is it about the human spirit?
It's amazing. That's the thing about Antarctica is it brings it out of you. So for example, I read another one recently called Mawson's Will. Douglas Mawson. He was an Australian. He was on one of the first Robert Frost expeditions. He leads an expedition down to the south. Him and a partner, they're leading explorations. 1908, something like that.
Yes.
They're going around Antarctica with dog teams. And what happens is they keep going over these snow bridges where there's a crevice, but it's covered in snow.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the lead driver, the dogs go over and they plummet. And that sled takes with it. So the guy survives, but that sled takes all their food, half the dogs, their stove, the camping tent, the tent specifically designed for the snow, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they're hundreds of miles away from base camp. He and this guy have to make it back there in time before the ship comes to come get them on an agreed upon date. And he makes it. But the guy he was with, he dies. And it's a crazy story. They have, first of all, they have to eat the dogs. A really creepy part of Antarctic exploration is everyone ends up eating dogs at different points.
Yeah.
And part of the theory, which is so crazy, is that the guy he was with was dying because they were eating dog liver. And dog liver has a lot of vitamin E, which if you eat too much of it can give you like a poisoning. And so Mawson, by trying to help his friend, was giving him more
of
liver.
all the things that kills you.
I know, is dog liver. And so his friend ends up dying, have a horrific heart attack, all of that. Mawson crawls back hundreds of miles away, makes it back to base camp hours after the ship leaves. And 2 guys or a couple of guys stayed behind for him. And he basically has to recuperate for like 6 months before he can even walk again. But it's like you were saying about the human spirit. It's like Antarctica brings that out of people. Or Amundsen, the guy who made it to the South Pole, Robert Amundsen. Oh my God. Like this guy trained his whole life in the ice from Norway to make it to the South Pole. And he beat Robert Frost, the British guy with all this money and all these. I could go on this forever.